Are they actually protecting Meghan now by not publishing it? Or are they protecting themselves? I don't know. You don't know. But I think we might get a clearer idea of who's a bit more right and who's a bit more wrong if they did that.
Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, became the UK's fastest-selling non-fiction book ever after its official release today. The publisher, Transworld Penguin Random House, said it had sold 400,000 copies so far across hardback, ebook and audio formats in the UK, even though the queues expected outside bookshops failed to materialise. Well, the publication follows weeks of interviews, revelations and stories across the media. In an interview with Anderson Cooper for the CBS show 60 Minutes, Prince Harry described the Queen Consort as dangerous and accused his stepmother of doing whatever she could to salvage her reputation in the years before she married Charles.
Why go that far when you don't necessarily need to? We wanted him to be happy, and we saw how happy he was with her. So at the time, it was okay.
You wrote that she started a campaign in the British press to pave the way for a marriage, and you wrote, I even wanted Camilla to be happy. Maybe she'd be less dangerous if she was happy.
Mm-hmm.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
That made her dangerous.
That made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press. And there was open willingness on both sides to trade of information. And with a family built on hierarchy, and with her on the way to being Queen Consort, there was going to be people or bodies left in the street because of that.
Well, the Duke of Sussex has also defended his decision to describe how he killed 25 Taliban while on a helicopter mission in Afghanistan. In an interview with People magazine in the United States, he said writing about this was part of his personal healing journey and that it was important for soldiers to be open about parts of our service that haunt us. Well, let's talk to Jenny Bond, broadcaster and royal commentator. Good evening to you, Jenny.
Hi, Carol.
I know you've been skimming through the book after all the advanced publicity, the Netflix series, the interviews and so on. Is there still more to learn from the actual book?
Well, it's interesting. I've been listening to it, actually, plodding around the house after sort of 5 days of incarceration of this drip feed of bits and pieces, and I've been broadcasting nonstop. Today, it calmed down a bit. So I've been plodding around the house and listening to it because it is read by Prince Harry. And he reads it well, and it's written well. And you cannot but have a little bit more sympathy, I think, when you hear it come out of his own mouth, these words, which can look, a bit different in a newspaper, on a page. And I find him still the likable chap that I knew a little bit all those years ago, but so incredibly damaged. You can hear it in his voice as he reads the words, and the words themselves portray a man from a young age who was really lacking in self-esteem and confidence, and remains, I think, very, very damaged by all he's gone through.
Yeah, I haven't read the book yet. I did watch the series and have listened to and watched various interviews. He is clearly traumatized and scarred by the death of his mother and by going through all of that at such a young age. But when that then leads him on to this fixation with what he sees as the scheming against him by the media and the rest of the royal family, it is difficult to see how he can get beyond that.
And he doesn't. No, that is the constant theme of the book. Everything is the fault of the press. He feels crucified by the paparazzi and the press. They ruin everything for him in his life and always have done. And I think he feels, well, he does feel, because in the interviews they always will. He says that even if there was some way back for him and Meghan to return to the UK, the third party would make that experience unsurvivable, in his words. So yes, the press are absolutely to blame. The other theme that goes through and through is the loss of his mother. And it's interesting, he doesn't talk about her death, he talks about her disappearance, because for so many years, and I didn't know that all that time you and I were on the desk reporting together on various things, and I was reporting on the royals. I thought Harry was okay. I thought he was, but he hadn't even accepted, in those adolescent years, he had not accepted that his mother was dead. He thought she was hiding. And that, of course, is absolutely tragic. And then there's the bitterness against his brother, which is quite overwhelming, and the bitterness against Camilla, which is mixed with a little bit of compassion, but ultimately he's really gunning for Camilla, and he doesn't seem to recognise that. There's such a lack of self-awareness, because in the interviews he was challenged by Tom Bradby, and he said, no, I wasn't scathing about Camilla. Well, I'm sorry, Harry, you really have been.
And despite all of that, and the description of the rifts and the fights with his brother, and those accusations about Camilla's behaviour, he still talks about wanting a reconciliation. But it's very difficult, really, to see how that could now come about.
No, I mean, trust has been absolutely destroyed now. And I don't see how that's going to happen in the foreseeable future. He also has said a little bit grandly, that if there was reconciliation, that might ripple across the world, as if we'll have global peace and love. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think they're as far apart as they possibly could be. What I did want from the book was some kind of concrete evidence of the allegations which he makes, particularly how the palace, he says, planted negative stories with particularly the tabloids about him, in order to promote someone else. And I think he's saying they tried to promote Camilla, and make her image a whole lot better at his expense. Yes, they did have a campaign to make us all accept Camilla, and it was a very successful campaign. It was run by Charles's spin doctor. You'll probably remember Mark Boland. But I
Indeed.
never, at any stage, did I find the fact that they were telling us that Camilla actually was a kind and courteous woman, Charles's soulmate. They told us that, but they did not. There wasn't some kind of tit for tat in which they said, by the way, Harry's been smoking weed or something. That was not my experience at all. So I would have liked the evidence of that, and there is none.
And of course, Camilla suffered months, years of vilification in the press at the time. In many ways, worse than anything that Meghan faced, or Harry and Meghan have faced, at least until they launched this recent onslaught. But when we now hear that the royal family have tried studiously to avoid responding to any of this, although we did hear about some of the turmoil that William was going through, do you think they are just going to really sit this out and try and, as King Charles, I should say, has been doing, continue performing their royal duties and studiously ignore all the specifics that have been hurled at them by Harry?
I think they have made this a very deliberate strategy, and that is how they're going to continue. And I think it's quite a successful one. It shuts the story down, and it gives them the dignified high ground, I suppose, unless William is riled into a response by a reporter throwing a question at him. I have wondered, though, with one thing the palace could do, and I think it would be helpful either way, is to publish that report that was carried out into the allegations that Meghan bullied her staff. Now, there was an investigation carried out. Palace have kept it private, but frankly, either she has been vindicated, or it has been found that those allegations are true and she did bully her staff. And I think that might shed a little bit of light. Are they actually protecting Meghan now by not publishing it? Or are they protecting themselves? I don't know. You don't know. But I think we might get a clearer idea of who's a bit more right and who's a bit more wrong if they did that. But I don't think they will.
Yes, perhaps we won't hold our breath for that particular royal revelation. Jenny Bond, broadcaster and royal commentator, really good to speak to you. Thank you very much.